what's going on today?
Not much. Thanks for having me on air to talk to you guys. We really appreciate it.
Welcome. We appreciate having you here.
No problem. We started this show playing hookah water, and we tried to get a hold of you during it. We were having some technical difficulties. We do apologize.
Yeah, no worries. I just figured I'd call in. I didn't know if it was supposed to be if I was supposed to stay on hold or something. I might have hung up.
No. Sometimes when, for some reason the calling out feature, even though we're a premium member, is not working right now, and I don't understand why, but it is what it is sometimes, and you can only do what you do. So, the first question I have for you, how did you all enjoy playing over in the Memorial Day?
The Memorial Day, that was the parade, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, I've been playing at the music festival Particle Accelerator the past 2 years in different bands, and so I've been familiar with the people who were running that part of the parade for the Memorial Day event, and basically they wanted to have a float to promote their music festival, which was about, I think, a week later. And they called us up, and we jumped to the occasion because we really thought Particle Accelerator is a music festival for suicide awareness and prevention, and, we're all for that, obviously, and we were very happy to help them out for that. And it was really fun because I live one town away from Putnam, and it was interesting to be on a float, with our drums and guitars and singing at the top of our lungs to the entire town.
That had to be a highlight moment, I would say.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was quite the experience. It's something I can check off the list, I suppose.
Yeah, that does sound very exciting.
We also know that you like to play over at the Stomping Ground.
Yeah, that place is absolutely fantastic. I mean, it opened about a year ago, and we played there, I think a week or so right after it opened up, and it's been really cool to see it, start growing. I mean, we just played there 2 weeks ago, our third time, and every time we go back, things are better. It's even bigger, and, their sound system's even better. And in 1 year's time, they've really become a fantastic venue for this, for the northeastern Connecticut scene. I think we really need that, and I think it's great that they're around.
That's awesome. I want to know, I got a really good question. How did you guys come up with the name for your band? I love it. That's so neat. It's so unusual. Different.
Well, thanks. It's an interesting story. I think I was in a band about 2 years ago before I started our Burgundy, and when that broke up, I just started writing a lot of acoustic songs, and there was one of them where I had a line in one of the lyrics. I believe it was something along the lines of, "When will I see through our Burgundy?" And just because it flowed pretty well, and I liked that. So when I started to kind of have the desire to start a band again and to kind of, do something more electric, I got a drummer, and, we kept writing songs, but we needed a name, and that kind of stuck as the idea, because when I was just doing the acoustic stuff, I didn't really want to present it as Seth David Christian, my name, and I didn't want to just be like a solo artist with these acoustic music. So I named it Our Burgundy because it sounds like a group of people. I mean, we're a duo to begin with, but it sounds like there's 5 or 6 guys in Our Burgundy, So it was kind of my way of creating a sense of anonymous, to that project in the beginning, because I really wanted people to like it for the music and not necessarily the name that was attached.
Well, I've been around a lot of bands, and in my lifetime, and I've seen a lot of bands and whatnot. And what you two do with 2 people, a lot of people can't do with 5. So
well, thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Yeah, your songs are amazing. I absolutely love them.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you guys enjoy them. We have a lot of fun playing them.
So I have a question for you. Now, according to your category or whatever, you consider yourself a blues band, correct?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Whenever I send emails out to get gigs or whatever, I like to do rock/blues because it's almost half and half. Some of our stuff,
That's what I was trying to say, because when I'm listening to some songs, I'm thinking of stuff like The Doors, Pink Floyd, but when I'm listening to others, I'm thinking more of grunge, as in, like the Foo Fighters, Nirvana, stuff like that.
Right.
It's awesome mixture.
Well, yeah, thanks. I mean, they're all bands that I've grown up on, that I absolutely love. I mean, and I think what we wanted, because we were a duo, was we wanted to keep kind of a classic simplicity to our sound, which, going back to, the Doors and just blues bands in general of that time, that's something that they did a lot. And I mean, another influence of ours, which might not show in the music, but I really am interested in, is Del Shannon. And, he was a guy from the 60s who was just a fantastic kind of, pop rock and roll guy. And then Neil Young is also a huge influence that we've, tried to translate to our music. But the whole grunge sound is more, I would definitely say, the loudness, because I definitely agree with you that, like, the Foo Fighters and, that kind of edge to us has always been present with our live sound. And so we just try to we try to blend it, we try to do the best we can and not really make people think that we sound like one band in particular, more of a melting pot of, rock and roll, I suppose.
Yeah, when you were talking about Neil Young, I was thinking in my head, before you even said it, I'm like, it's got the Neil Young flair to it.
Yeah,
just
definitely kind of that grit.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Of all your songs, what one would you say is probably your most favorite song?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm really, Hookah Water and the other new song we put out just recently, Steel Wool Blues, those are definitely two of my favorites, because I think they really capture where we're at right now live. Like, we, with the new recordings, we wanted to really, represent how we sound live, at our shows, and that's kind of big and dynamic. And I'm really having fun playing Steel Wool Blues live, and either that or going back to kind of an older song of ours, I'd have to say I'm a big fan of Blue Bandana.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, because when I first heard Hookah Water, I actually fell in love with it. I mean, I like all your music, but that's the one song that just kind of stuck out to me. I don't know, maybe the beat or what. I just liked it.
So when you all aren't, busy, writing music, touring, and everything of that sort, what do you like to do for fun?
When we aren't busy?
When you're not busy, when you have a day off.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, that's a good question. I usually, if I'm home, I'm just pretty much, music's pretty much my life. It's kind of funny. My friends joke that, like, I don't have a life otherwise, and they're pretty correct about that. So in my free time, I just try to, do nothing and kind of veg out, because when we're out, playing these shows and when we're out writing or recording, it kind of takes over, your life, and, you really want to put your best foot forward with it and give it your all. So when you're not doing that, I'm pretty much at home watching, like, King of the Hill on Netflix and and making chicken nuggets or something.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's just like, I try, but I mean, I got my buddies, in my town I'll hang out with, and just pretty much anything that happens around here, I'll try to do.
Another question. Where have you guys toured?
That's a good one. We've definitely, Rhode Island has been a very nice home for us. We've played with some bands over there, such as Melton to Place was a great band that recently just broke up, but they were kind of our brother band with the Rhode Island scene last summer, and so we played a lot in Providence, Pawtucket, and mostly in that area, and we've done a few on the eastern side of Connecticut. We've played in Hartford a few times, and Massachusetts has also kind of been our area. We're friends with a band down in Florida called Hadley's Hope, and this August we'll be playing a couple shows with them down there, because I'm going to be in the area with them, and luckily we'll be able to use their gear and just, play some rock music. So Florida is going to be kind of our next place to land, I suppose.
That's cool. Have you guys gotten to meet any, like, famous people yet?
No, unfortunately not. You know, I would like to. I'm not sure what the line is or what defines famous, but I don't think we've necessarily met anybody in that regard. But a lot of people around here who, some of the local bands that we've started to play for and stuff like that, or you know, when we got started, it was kind of starstruck because when this band started getting the momentum going, we were kind of following these other local bands, and it was cool to play with them. So I guess whatever the gauge of fame is, it depends, I suppose.
Okay, have you ever had a fan come up to you and be like, wow, your music really impacted my life?
You know, that's what I mean. I'm going to go back to the whole Rhode Island thing. I mean, Rhode Island's been the best place for people who have really kind of, you know, listened to our songs and gotten to know them. And, like, you know, when we play shows there, we actually see people singing along to them, and they kind of, you can tell that it's not something new to them. It's more something that, you know, they heard it before they came to the show, or they've seen us a few times. And I think that's, so we've had some people come up to us and say, you know, I really love this song, or, you know, you guys are really, you know, you like you were saying earlier that, you know, it's we sound like five people when it's just the two of us. So it's really awesome to hear that kind of feedback, and that's really what's kept me to continue the band, you know. And I think it's just the positive feedback from people saying, you know, it's great to have you here. The feeling's mutual, you know. That's why I want to continue doing this wherever I am, you know, because it's very rewarding in that regard.
Oh, that's absolutely amazing. I mean, I could easily see you at some point in the near future being signed by somebody. There's no way with the talent you all have that you won't be. Because it seems like everybody's copying each other, and you all have your own unique style, and it's actually catchy.
I agree. I don't think it'll be long before you guys will be signed at all.
Oh, that's an exciting feeling. Thank you. I like you guys.
Well, thank you. We like you too. We're glad. Like I said, we're glad to have you on the show. It's very exciting.
Sweet.
Yeah, we're like little kids in the candy store. Are you kidding me?
Oh, geez. Well, likewise.
Here's the point. Before we ask you some more questions, we like our guests to put us on the spot. So, you have anything you'd like to ask us? Because we know how it feels to, you know, be put on the spot. And as an artist, you know, you have to come up with your own answers in a second.
Okay. This is fun. I feel the role reversal here. All right. What do you guys listen to for music? Just like every day, you know, when you're going about your week or so. What are your favorite bands?
You want to go first?
You go first, huh?
All right. I absolutely love Stained, or Aaron Lewis. I love what he stands for, and I've actually sat and had a beer with him by accident.
Oh, get out, really?
Yeah. I was over at Moose's Lounge. It's no longer there, out in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I happened to be at the show, and I actually got pancaked during the show, where I could not breathe for like 30 seconds. And at the end of the show, I'm like, you know what? There's too many people up here. I'm going to have a beer. And what happened was I was at the bar at the end where I figured nobody would bother me. All of a sudden, the show ended, and it ended up Aaron Lewis and the rest of the band. And this is a week before they actually went on MTV. You know, sat down next to me. Now, of course, I wasn't asking them for autographs or anything. I was just amazed, you know, that they wanted to sit by me out of all people. So
wow, fantastic.
Yeah, I think I definitely have to agree with him on Stain. I do like Stain. I do like Def Leppard, Aerosmith. I like a lot of different kinds of music. I listen to country. I listen to everything.
Yeah, Aerosmith's fantastic.
Exactly. I mean, other things I like, I'm not big into hip-hop, but I love Jadakiss for some reason. I love all kinds of classic rock, and I love Slipknot and Guns N' Roses and stuff like that. So
I'm not big into rap either, but I actually started to listen to some of the underground, and I actually started to really like it. And it was really, you know, cool to listen to.
Well, cool. All right. Yeah, well, thanks for answering my question. I feel like you guys now.
So, how about without prying in your business? How about your love life? You find yourself a nice woman and all that, or?
Currently, no. You know, it's funny. It's when the gigging and the music and all of that stuff's working out for me. I kind of let myself forget about that stuff. If I'm having bad luck with that or no luck, you know, it's good that the music allows me to just you know, keep chugging along. But currently, no. I suppose you could say I'm a single guy.
You know what, though? Some woman will come along and she will scoop you up because, you know, a lot of the people, like the bands and stuff, they'll start out single, and eventually at one point, just before they get famous or whatever, they'll meet that somebody, you know? Or maybe when they get famous.
So there is hope.
Yeah, you just got to be make sure that she wants you for you, not your money at that time.
And she's not psycho either.
Of course.
So do you have any hobbies? I mean, you said you don't really get to go out and do anything, but do you have any hobbies?
I'm big into the outdoors. I'm really into, like, you know, rock climbing and canoeing and kayaking in particular. And that's kind of always been a nice recreation thing for me. I'm a huge fan of pretty much anything that involves, you know, being out in nature and, you know, and camping and stuff like that. That's always been, even as a, you know, a little kid, something that I've really been drawn to. And I grew up in Providence in the city, and when we moved to Pomfret, Connecticut, which is much more rural, I really liked it a lot more. And, you know, that's always kind of been something that I hope, you know, as I get older, I'd like to, you know, have access to cities and to be a part of, you know, places like that, but to always kind of consider my home somewhere that's a lot more, you know, secluded and, you know, out in the, you know, in nature.
So I want to know this. What bands, that you're a musician and everything, what band would you go pay to see or have you paid to see that you're really into and it just changed your life? Like a concert that you went to and you were like, wow.
Well, I went to, my buddies and I, we road tripped to Lollapalooza last year, which had a fantastic lineup of, the first night was Black Sabbath, and that was just, it blew me out of my face. I was completely blown away by Ozzy, you know, Tony, Geezer, and that was an amazing show. I've always loved Black Sabbath, so I've always been into them, and that was a life-changing show. And then the night after that was the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and obviously pretty much, you know, the Red Hot Chili Peppers have a song pretty much for anybody, and I've always loved them. John Frusciante, their guitar player, has been a huge influence of mine, and when I saw them last year, that was life-changing. And then the third night, I saw Jack White, his solo band, you know, his solo performance, and he was one of the best shows I've ever been to. It was a really amazing, versatile performance of his. And then I would definitely say my favorite band, and one of my favorite concerts I've been to, is this band called Silver Sun Pickups from Los Angeles, California. They kind of got me through high school. I always listened to their music and continue to, and just a huge fan of theirs. So that was a good show. And one more, I think, was Waves. They're this band from California. They're kind of like a surf rock kind of. They're kind of similar to Nirvana as well. And I saw them at Brighton Music Hall in Boston, and that place had it's a 400 capacity venue, and I got to the very front of it, and it was almost like a place that we would play, like that kind of capacity, like a small kind of place. And I think the intimacy of it and the fact that I was up front and, you know, the band Kid Bar opened for them, the whole concept of that was just, it was an amazing experience of a concert. You know, it really felt like it was a rock show from like the 90s or the 70s. It was one of those like kind of nights. So and to kind of go back to one of your other questions you said about hobbies, I really love going to see live music. I would say that's kind of a thing I try to do when I'm not playing my own shows.
Nice. Have you all played at Toads or thought about playing at Toads?
We would love to. You know, it's funny. We luck out with the gigs that we get. We kind of just send emails out and cross our fingers, and if a band we know is playing some places, you know, we'll get hooked up with them. But we're trying to do our best to pretty much play wherever we can, you know, that will have us, you know. So Toads has kind of been something we're looking at, you know, to do. We're just trying to get the chance to do it, basically.
Yeah, definitely. With your music, to be honest with you, you'd have no problem getting in there. I've heard a lot worse music out in Toads, but they've also had national known bands out there.
Right.
you know, so they're really known. I went out there and I seen a KRS concert one time.
Oh, cool. All right.
It was awesome. As well as seeing like many bands out there and whatnot. And I actually have a friend of mine. He's in Murray in the Wheel, and they're actually doing a benefit show out that way. And maybe I can give him a holler and maybe see if I can get you either at that time or at some point to, you know, in Toads. I could
yeah,
see what
we
I
would
can
love to. I mean, it's totally something we want to do, and you know, I'm out here until September 20th, and then I go out to school in Olympia, Washington, at the Evergreen State College. I'm going there for record producing and all that stuff. But I plan on keeping the Burgundy machine kind of going out there because, you know, all the songs I've written, and you know, I'm working currently with my friend Cam Geary, who's an amazing drummer, but he's also an incredible guitarist and singer. So our musical chemistry's been solid, and I feel like, going back to what I said earlier about our Burgundy being more of a name of music rather than like the people involved in it, I'd really love to continue this out there and see what the scene out there would offer for us, and then when I'm back home on the East Coast, play shows here because I feel like it has the potential to grow even more than where it's at right now, and I think that side of the country would really like it. So whatever gigs you have, yeah, we're here until then, and then we'll be back, you know, in the summer and spring and winter and stuff.
Oh, I can't make no guarantees, but I can talk to some people that I do know.
Yeah, so. Totally cool.
Okay. Did you get tongue-tied for a second, my dear?
Yeah, I think I did. Oh boy. Anyway, yeah. Have you guys ever performed in any like big? Oh no. Wait, that's not what I meant to ask. Oh boy.
So who are your influences outside of music?
That's a good question. I'm pretty well. What I do with when I'm influenced when I write my music and stuff like that, and that to things that aren't necessarily related to music. I mean, I find a lot of influence in the people that I'm around. You know, like I mean, there's a lot of people who are artists who will succeed with their writing by writing a song about somebody or about a situation in their life. And I think instead of me doing that with my music, I get inspired by events that happen in my life and then, or influenced by people in my life, and then I will write something that reflects that as opposed to it necessarily being directly about them. So I think just human interaction in general I'll find some sort of influence from, and that will translate into my music. And I won't really know what it's about until I look back on it. So, you know, certain songs, there will be a retrospective of, you know, oh, maybe this is about this. And even then I could be wrong. But, you know, it's kind of, I guess, general human contact and just different events in my life are a big influence on my writing.
So you said that you're going for to be a recording engineer or a record producer? The program offers pretty much both. It's kind of a, you know, they'll teach you how to, you know, I've already produced and recorded most of our music, and I've recorded some local artists in our area, and so I have a good idea of that stuff already and a big interest for it. But the whole, I'm trying to get into the, you know, the profession of, you know, engineering and, you know, also being a producer, because I've really, another side of my love for music is, you know, seeing artists and saying, you know, it would be amazing to produce that person, or just, you know, bring their music to life in a different way, or, you know, bring their dream to kind of, you know, onto the recording. And, you know, Evergreen's going to allow me to do that, and I'm really excited about that, because it'll also open up a lot of opportunities for, you know, the band, and just being in that world and having your foot in that door while also having your other foot in the music world, you know, the performing side of it, will only be something that's going to be to our advantage, you know, in the long run. Well, we could really use another Roadrunner Records without being sold out.
Absolutely. Yeah, tell me about it.
That's definitely true.
And when you were talking about L.A., we actually recently had Brittany Bouchard, which is, she lives out in L.A. She's another artist. She's a fantastic artist and a fantastic person in general that we spoke with recently.
Sweet.
So, who would you say, as far as your writing style, who would you compare your writing style to?
Well, that kind of goes back to where you said you heard a lot of our influence in the 90s, because I feel like that was an era where lyrics were, whether they were intentional or not, they were very obscure, and they were more up for interpretation. And, I also love my poetry the same way. I like when it's not, somebody can look at a painting or something like that, and they can have a different interpretation on it than somebody else. And that's really what I want. When I write my lyrics and when I write my music, I want different people to feel different about it. I want some people to think of Hookah Water as like a sad song to some degree, like kind of a moving on song, or I want other people to think of it as a triumphant, like, a new chapter or a happy song, because I think the lyrics can go either way, and to me that's kind of how they have been. It's not like I don't sit down and say I'm going to write a sad song. I write what's on my mind, and it's almost up for interpretation to me. So what I'm trying to say is, in a weird way, is pretty much the lyrics and songwriting that I have will kind of mirror a lot of the 90s stuff, where even those artists really wanted it to be up to the listener to interpret. And I think I've always admired that, and I hope that is what translates.
Yeah, exactly. Some things are better left unsaid and let
totally.
The fan base believe the song is about whatever they wanna, because that's what gives them hope. That's what keeps them going, especially
in
the
them
world
too.
Especially in the world today, which is full of so much corruptness. It's not even funny.
Right.
Well,
exactly.
When I listened to the song Hookah Water, at first it sort of did sound funny, but then it started to sound more like it got more upbeat as I listened to it, And it sounded real mellow.
Yeah, exactly.
It made me feel real mellow, though, listening to it. So I liked that.
And we had an interruption. How dare they? We're doing a live interview here. Let's see. How much of an influence has your family been on the music that you write?
Well, I have to say that I have to credit them, because they've kind of put up with me, and they've been a fantastic support team for this. When it's at a point now where the momentum's going and it's starting to pay itself off to a small degree, but there was a point where it wasn't like that, and we had to take a lot of chances and say, I'm trying to make a band, or I need a ride to this gig or whatever, in the early stages of this, and so they've always really been a positive force for that, and they've always believed in me. I think I live with my mom, and she's been very fantastic with that. My dad lives in Rhode Island. He's come to those Rhode Island gigs, and so they've always liked it. They've always cheered me on and had me kind of continue, in parts where I kind of would give up on myself or things that that I didn't have. If I thought it was the end of the line or something like that, they'd kind of say, keep going with this. It'll work out. So I don't know if they've had influence on the writing subject or the like the riffage, but they've definitely been there to keep me going with it.
That's always awesome when your family to support you.
It is, especially when something goes wrong and your mother or your father or your whole family comes in and says, hey, you're okay. Come on, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and keep going. And it makes you want to keep going and keep pressing on.
Exactly.
Totally.
I have this question for you. Is it harder in your eyes to play for a fan base of, I'm just giving generic numbers here, of 3, or would you say 500?
It really depends. I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do with your live show. I really never, Cam and I, we go up on stage, and we really it depends on what the audience is like. It will depend on what our show is. So we know what kind of songs we want to play. We might not know necessarily the order, but we feed off the audience. I mean, if we're playing for 3 people, and in some cases we have, we're going to kind of cater to them. We're going to kind of cater to what they're feeling. If they like this kind of sound, we might play some more stuff like that. If they didn't like the slower ones, we'll kind of keep it upbeat. But, to a crowd of, we've played to some that are, in the 100 and 200 range, your goal is to really, in my opinion, especially with the Our Burgundy stuff, is to create a dynamic. You don't want to just give them a wall of just an electric guitar the whole way through where everything sounds the same, but you don't want to have a slow set either. So, bringing those highs and bringing those lows into an audience that's a little bit larger will will keep their attention span a lot more. And I think that's what, you know, a lot of bands on bigger scales are doing when they play arenas. You know, they want the like the sound in between the notes to kind of matter just as much as the notes they're playing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And it also shows your integrity, saying, okay, yeah, we'll play for 3 people, or we'll play for, you know, 300 people. We just like playing. So many bands out there that if 5 people wanted to hear them play, they'd be like, no, I don't have time for you. It just shows,
yeah, I mean, you can't do that.
You know, that some bands that have class, and then there's some bands that are just in it for the money or just in it for the checks or whatever, you know, it may be.
Right. And, you know, the other thing is it could be that one person that you didn't play for who could have told somebody else that they're friends with who might have some connection or some, you know, even like, oh, my dad, you know, can get us into this gig, and get you guys into this venue or something. I mean, I'm not saying that's why we do it. We play for the smaller people, but you never know what your impact will be, even on a three people at a place, or, you know, it might be a smaller chance, but the chance is still there that you could impact somebody to the point where they'll go see the rest of your shows. And I think we've actually had that happen to us, where smaller venues and smaller amounts of people have almost been our, you know, bigger fans in the group, you know.
Exactly. And you may not play to get, you know, to have that happen, but you never know. You could play somewhere and somebody can say, hey, my father's a producer. You
right.
know?
Or it could be for an A&R rep, just sitting there having lunch.
Exactly.
Right, exactly. You never know.
So do you have any interest? I understand that you love music, you love the outdoors, but do you have any special, like, other passions? Like, are you an artist or anything of that sort, or is the other member an artist?
Yeah, I mean, Cam and I are both really immersed into the whole, you know, the arts thing. You know, we love, aside from just music, you know, before I played guitar, I started playing guitar when I was 15. You know, I picked up that kind of whole thing around then. And before that, I was really into just, like, kind of comic book drawing. And, you know, that was kind of my artistic release before I found music. And so it's always kind of been there. You know, my mom she grew up, she was an art teacher, and she has her own you know, wool dyeing business now, which is really cool. And my sister's into textiles; she has her own business. And my dad is he's a music teacher. So the arts have kind of always been in my crazy family. So that's always been an interest of mine. Whether it's you know, I did musical theater in high school. You know, it's been there. But and I would say the same thing for Cam. You know, he's always been into this kind of stuff, and his family has been very supportive about, you know, his artistic pursuits, and that's a good thing.
How did
we need more of that.
So how did you and Cam meet?
We met in high school. I take that back. We met in middle school. He's 2 years older than me, and I just remember him being into kind of the same music I was in middle school, and we never had any classes obviously together or anything of that sort. But what ended up pretty much happening was when we came to high school together, and the music program there was a little more our, you know, type, and, you know, kind of more of the rock and roll stuff. We started jamming together and realizing we had a lot in common, and any chance we could get, we just started playing together. And when he graduated and when I graduated, you know, we knew that this chemistry, we had to do something with it. And currently at the moment, our Burgundy's been the momentum and the thing that's been working right now. So he jumped in on drums for this. We had an older drummer. We had a drummer at the beginning of our Burgundy named Alex Herr, who started it with me, and he was great. But when things kind of started picking up, and we got a little more busy, his schedule conflicted with that, and, you know, we had a mutual agreement that we, you know, continue with another drummer. And Cam has picked that up, and he's done a fantastic job with it, and the dynamics of the show have been unbelievable, and people are really responding to that. And he's the drummer on Hookah Water and the new releases. So.
Nice. So have you ever had one of them times where you'd, like, play a show, you'd be, like, in a bar and no one would be interested, and then all of a sudden something you did would just get the crowd all of a sudden, you know, just in tune?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that goes back to what I was saying about you have to figure out what the crowd wants. You know, whether it's we're playing at a bar like Charlie Bravo's in Putnam, and we start playing Folsom Prison Blues by Johnny Cash, and then all of a sudden everyone is our best friend. Or, you know, or if it's something that, I get the crowd to, to notice that I just jumped onto the floor and, am soloing or something. It really depends on, what kind of energy you think that the crowd wants. It's not really an act. It's not really something that, I'm trying to fake to impress the audience. It's more of, if they're not interested in me now, what will they be interested in what can I do to, to tap into that? So, it depends really. It depends each night. And I think that's a battle that we fight every show. If people don't know who we are, we're just another, two-piece, loser band up there that they've never heard of. But you want to win them over, and I happily I see that transition happen, earlier in the set than it used to. So I know, we're kind of doing something right.
Exactly. That's what it's about. It's about improvising and, being on the spot, so to speak, and just adapting to, the audience and, really making them interact. I think there's some people that have that, and there's some people out there that just don't. And that's what separates the good, from the great, in my eyes.
Well, it's also something that, you'll see a band, or, we'll have a band open for us, or, we'll even have a band that we're opening for, and whether it's, it's they play live music just to have fun with, their band, and they're not really worried about the engagement of the audience, and they're just happy to be there. But a lot of people, they'll just kind of play their instruments, and they'll look at their shoes, or they'll kind of just, get into it, and that's fine. But I think you're also, the reason it's live music is you're playing out to people, and, if you wanted to do that, you can do that in a rehearsal space. And, I mean, even though that's my opinion, I think what our Burgundy really tries to do is we try to get the audience just into it as we are. I try to have as much fun as I can up there so other people will. I mean, the audience is not going to have fun if the band is not.
Exactly. What do you think in this day and age separates the indie artist from the mainstream artist in terms of music out there? Because a lot that I'm hearing in all genres are, the indie music is just rocking and the mainstream is all right. Yeah, it's good, but it's just not as, it's like the passion just left. It's like they signed a contract and they just forgot about people.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you answered the question yourself. I mean, I think the one word that separates it is compromise. There are bands that, they might get a bigger paycheck, they might get a larger fan base, quote unquote, or they'll get a record deal or something like that. But they make compromises to do that. Whether it's the label controls their artwork, controls the kind of style that they play, like only just play these kind of songs, that'll work. Or like when bands compromise, they sometimes they succeed, and quote unquote succeed. And they do well in that, they get into the mainstream, market. And that's good because what ends up happening is you'll notice a lot of bands will then go back to their roots, as a lot of, reviewers will say and stuff like that. So, like, the bands will start realizing, wow, we changed a lot just to get to this point. And I think the independent artists, the people who are on indie labels and the bands that really, or even the ones that are just promoting and doing it on themselves, they don't have to worry about that, and I think there's a sense of integrity and there's a different level. The relationship with their fans is a little bit closer because of that, because it's not, I think compromise is a wall between, your fan base and the band,
Well, where could you see yourself in 5 years from now?
I would love to see myself with, millions of dollars and, 5,000 women. No, I'm just kidding. I would like to just keep playing. I really hope that my music will, I hope the fan base has a natural progression. Whatever project I'm in at that point, I'd love to continue this Our Burgundy thing for however long as my fan base and the people listening will honestly allow it, and I think that's a great thing. But I would love to, keep playing music, keep being in bands, and keep writing my music and having it out. But the other thing is I would love to continue to, on the side, produce artists and to bring their dreams and the sounds that they hear in their head onto, tape or onto recording. And that's kind of a goal of mine as well, that I would love to balance both of those worlds too, have the performance side and also, be able to produce artists and be on the other end.
Well, I mean, I always, talk crap as far as, internet the internet in general. But I will say one thing: internet radio gives like artists like so many outlets now, and so many different directions they could go. And as far as the internet, that's a positive thing. What do you think of I understand that you make more if you're on a actual FM dial radio as far as royalties and whatnot. But do you think the internet radio outlet is a good for up and coming bands and actually just connecting with people and stuff like that?
Absolutely. I think anything you can do as an artist to get your music out to people that you want it to be out to, and to target an audience that your music would fit, I think that's the greatest thing you can do. And we would love to have our music on those on stations like that as well. I mean, we've had some of our music. I forget the exact 99 or whatever the number is for the radio, but we've had a couple of our older tunes played on the radio, in good rotation actually. And it's a great feeling, and I think that's the same thing with online radio. Is people have online radio on almost as like a shuffle. They're just having it on while they work or something, and they'll hear something they like, and if your music's good enough, that will come across. And so online radio is a great opportunity for that. I definitely think that's one thing that the internet has really helped musicians, do is get to a different, bigger audience.
Definitely. Especially if they hear one particular song of yours, then they're going to go through and they're going to try to find it somewhere and be like, oh, I want to hear that again. Let's go to YouTube. Let's check out here and there. And they'll check out this.
Yeah, there's so many outlets and venues now. You can do live, concerts on the internet now. You couldn't do that 10, 15 years ago. So, I mean, that is one of the, advantages of nowadays. But as far as if you had your choice, okay, because I'm going to put you on the spot for a moment. If you had your choice and you go through schooling, okay, out in Washington, and you have your choice of, you have a contract you can sign of, being in a band, or you can start your own independent label and help others out, which would you choose and why?
I would definitely go with my first love, and that's performing and being out there on the front, making it happen. Because I think what we need right now more than ever is just more bands who care about their fans in the sense of they're out there playing for them and they're at their whim. And I think our Burgundy does that, and we're a band. Our is in our name. It's our band. It's not my concept. So when I go out there and perform, I think that's almost servicing the public a little bit more than a record label, which could help quote unquote bands, get going. And I think I pick that because, if I go out there and, continue performing and doing, and my first love, I'd be able to at some point years from now be able to create a label that I could just bring up and coming bands up if the fates allow me to be that lucky,
Yeah, exactly. I think the major problem from not seeing that many independent labels from before, other than the downfall of the internet, everybody now believes that they're a DJ or something of some sort. But I said some people got it and some people don't. I mean, it's simple as that. But I think the major thing is all the red tape. If somebody could create a label without having to go through millions of hoops and millions of rules and procedures, I think that they could shine in this day and age and do so well. Because that's what basically mainstream is nowadays. It's a bunch of politics and everything of that sort. And I'm not going to have you, downgrade anything or, ruin your rep in any way, shape, or form. But all I'm trying to say is, people really need to look at the independent stuff or the outlet rather than, just go all out mainstream, because as you stated before, they will compromise and they will butcher your stuff, and they just don't care. It's all about the money.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you actually couldn't have said it better. I couldn't have said it better myself. The thing that the one problem with the internet, and I mean, everybody has their thoughts on the internet, and I honestly think it's a double-edged sword because, it gives us opportunity, and, I wouldn't be talking to you guys if the internet wasn't here. And, our band wouldn't be at the point that it's at right now if it wasn't for the internet. But the thing that it affects artists, and I think you alluded to this in what you were just saying, was that it's pretty much anyone's game. Anyone can play the Rock Band game. They can go and make a Facebook page, put a cool picture up and say, hey, we're a band. And, they can get all their friends on Facebook, whether they even know the music or not, to like their page, and they can be considered a band. And I think what that does is that separates, that creates a more difficult ability to separate, bands that are doing it to make a life out of it and to make a living, as opposed to bands that are doing it because it's a cool phase and they can just click a create a page button on Facebook because it's there for anyone.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people don't realize how hard of work it is. For instance, doing a talk show like we do, whether it's on Blog Talk or actually we've got a lot better outlet we're going to be going to soon. I'm not going to give you details right now, but they don't realize that it takes more than 10 minutes to come up with. It's hours and hours of work and days and months, just to create something entertaining.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what art has always been. I think for hundreds of years, it's always been something that some people who don't understand it will think, oh, this is just work. This is just fun for you. You're an artist. You're having fun, and this even goes with radio. It's anybody who is having artistic expression and attempting to make a living out of it. You'll always have people who will say to you, we'll only give you $10 to play this show. We'll just have you do it for free because you're having fun. This doesn't work for you, and it's the exact opposite. It just so happens that I enjoy my work. But it's still, that doesn't mean that it's not difficult and takes hours of your time. It's where I invest my time. And to others, it may seem risky or like a job or like a for fun kind of thing, but it's completely the opposite.
Yeah, there's some people that are passionate and there's some people that don't. Okay, I got a question for you. Are you into any sports? Like, are you a football fan or anything of that sort?
I've always loved. I think the part of me that loves going to see live music has always. I've enjoyed going to see live sports, but I'm definitely not athletic by any means. My folks when I was younger, they signed me up for like a lacrosse season or like the town lacrosse team or soccer or basketball, and I was horrible at all of them. I was just I kind of turned into like the cheerleader or the bench warmer pretty much. But, so that never worked. But I do love, I love the spirit that sports bring, in people. It gets people excited, and it brings the same, pretty much the same passion and emotion that they get seeing a live show. And I felt the same way at a concert that I do sometimes at, even like a high school basketball game or a Red Sox game or a Yankees game or something of that regard at all. So I enjoy sports for that value, but I'm definitely not athletic, and I'm also not too educated when it comes to teams or said things. They're all good in my book.
I understand. When it comes to football, I know my team, but when I used to be, a diehard Atlanta Braves fan. But if you ask me today, can you name 5 players, I can't name 2.
Totally.
And as far as sports go, I played soccer in junior high, and I couldn't play to save my life. I was always on the bench.
And I tried baseball, and that just didn't work. I couldn't hit worth a damn.
And our son tried playing.
I was the right fielder. I was pretty much on my little league team. Nothing ever came to me, so I turned into the cheerleader. I just cheer for the pitcher to hit to strike out so we can go back and sit in the dugout and chew gum or whatever. I was pretty useless, so they just threw me out there.
Well, our son sat and played and made volcanoes and would go, there she blows in the middle of the game and run.
It is what it is. Do you have any favorite movies?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite movies has always been, whenever people ask me this, is I think Mrs. Doubtfire. For some reason, I don't know why. I grew up on it. Maybe that's why it was always kind of around. But I think Robin Williams dressed up as an old woman, attempting to be with his children is not only heartwarming but hysterical at the same time. I've always loved that movie, and I suppose it's a classic now too.
It is, but it's a great movie. I agree with you.
So before we let you go, because I'm sure you're busy and you got things to do, especially being a musician and whatnot, do you have any famous quotes or anything that you've heard that you've just like stuck by? Like for instance, one of my favorites. I have two of my favorites. One that said, "No one ever accused me of being sane," and two, it was fun while it lasted. It's just things that I believe in, just like the whole Bruce Willis, when he talks about a hero, I think of my life. I'm like, okay, yes, I would be considered a hero, but not the hero that is the heroic one.
Absolutely. I think more than anything, being a musician, I really think that the constant, they always say that everybody, no matter what, they'll have a song stuck in their head, whether they know it or not. I've always had, it's almost like I have a line or something, wherever I am in my life, there's always some sort of line that will stick in my head that will kind of be my quote of that, era or whatever, whether that era is 5 minutes or whether it's a couple months long part of my life. There'll always be something that that stays in the back of my head musically that will be a line of some sort of lyric. So I think one that has kind of stuck with me, and it's not, I don't think it's necessarily, it doesn't really have a message, but what it means to me is that, my music will always kind of be here with me, and because of that I should do something with it, is Neil Young's famous, my, hey, hey, rock and roll is here to stay, because what that means is I have a record tattooed on my forearm, and I got that last year to remind myself that, I can, music will always be here for me no matter what, and, the record is a symbol of kind of, the analog, do-it-yourself, not a lot of, computer correction kind of sound. And, so the idea is that, you'll always have your music and people can't take that away from you. So when Neil Young, when I heard that song, a couple of years back, I think that's one of the things that has never left me. So I would say that's a big thing that I kind of live by, is that, rock and roll is here to stay, and I'll try to help do that.
Nice. I also like another one out of Neil Young, in the song Cortez, when he said, people built with their bare hands what we still can't build today. I thought that was phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, his lyrics are just something that I've always been drawn to, and, he's a fantastic guy. His book, I don't know if you've read it, it's called Waging Heavy Peace, is an amazing autobiography about his life, and if anybody who, even if you're not a Neil Young fan like anybody, if anybody's not, they should just read it, because it's a life worth reading, He's an amazing guy.
Yeah, Neil Young was drilled in my head as a little kid. My stepfather,
nice.
who was actually my father, because anybody could be a father, but it takes a true man to be a dad.
Absolutely.
He was he is a huge Neil Young fan, and I'm very grateful that he introduced me to such a talent and whatnot.
And then our family motto is never give up.
Exactly.
That's a good motto to live by. Absolutely. It's a simple one, but it's direct.
Well, that's one my mother-in-law always said to our son. Always told our son that. So we live by that, and that's our family motto.
Nice.
And I will give one for you, even though I don't have that right to do that. I will say, no matter what life throws at you in life, Seth, that always remember, people that are unhappy with their own lives will always try to find a way to discourage others.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody, we've all experienced that. I mean, whether people know, whether they know that in words or not, that's very true, so absolutely.
So just keep your head up and just continue doing what you're doing. We absolutely love what you're doing. And any show we have on Blog Talk or anywhere, we have an open door policy no matter what outlet we're on. You're welcome to come on the show at any time. That's the way we feel. Anybody that we've interviewed, that's the way we are. So.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys having me, and I really love doing stuff like this, because it just gets kind of our message out to people who normally haven't heard of us. And I think so when I'm out west, wherever the the new era of our Burgundy that will be continuing, I'll definitely be sure to call in and or schedule something with you guys to catch up, because I really like, as opposed to what I'm doing, I love what you guys are doing with this, and I think we need more people like you guys running this stuff, because it helps bands in a way that I don't think a venue, a label, or other bands can do. So you guys deserve a lot of credit for that. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We do this because we feel, we matter because everybody else matters. That's why one of our slogans, we matter because you matter. I mean, and we truly believe that. If people don't network with each other and, I'm not going to say depend on each other, but believe in each other,
and help each other out,
then, the big bad brother or whatever you have will destroy and be like sharks and be like, okay, y'all are nothing because you're not us. I mean, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, you can't do it without, if you're a little guy like all of us are, you can't do it without people supporting you, whether it's your parents or whether it's, other bands or you guys. It's all vital. It's so important. So, thanks so much for having me.
No problem.